Hello and welcome to the Parentreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Jake Haynes, and welcome all our new subscribers. By the way, if you're listening to this and you're an aspiring parent entrepreneur or you're a parent entrepreneur in the weeds right now, I would really welcome a subscribe, a like, a comment. Again, I have nothing to sell you here. I'm just hoping that we can foster a community where parent entrepreneurs can help each other, because it's right now just an empty space where there's nothing out there on YouTube or in podcasts to really help support those who are going through the unique challenges of being a parent and starting or running a business. So where do we leave off in my story? So I just was praying for a sign if I should go out and do my own thing after doing market research kind of on the side for a little while. And I get laid off. I get the text that everything's being shut down. The entire company dissolved 6 or 7 months later and was sold off. So what do I do what did I do at that point? So it's kind of make or break time. And I knew I had to figure it out one way or another. We had, probably 5,000 or 6,000 in savings. It would probably have been more if I didn't have 4 other layoffs or 3 other layoffs behind that, because my income over the past few years, while it's been good, usually in the decent 6 figures. It's been really hard to put money aside because it's been the constant up and down of finding a job and sometimes not getting severance, sometimes getting severance. And so we'd have our stockpiles of savings built up and then taken away. And then it's been a whole cycle for like 3 years of when that was happening. So it timed right around tax season. So we had a few thousand in savings. I think we're getting another 11 grand back from our taxes in a tax return. And we were thankful to have a rental property. Our first house that we bought, we quickly turned into rental property in just a few short years. And it was profitable, and it's made a lot of money in regards to equity because we just happened to buy at the right time. We bought right before the COVID craziness. And so we bought a house that was only, $290,000 at the time of when we bought it. And at the time of recording, it's only it's over $450,000. So it's in just a few short years, near doubled or close to it, a time and a half. And so we took out a home equity line, a HELOC, to take that property and get the equity, not take the equity out, but get the cash from the equity to buy the house that we're in now, because we did the math and it could cash flow enough to still pay the loan, still pay the expense of the mortgage and interest and HOA fees, and still be cash flow positive. And so we decided to do that. That's not the right decision for everybody. In fact, Dave Ramsey would vehemently disagree with you about doing those things, which is fair. To each their own. We also had additional money in that HELOC that we didn't pull out entirely. But I knew ultimately, if I had 6 months, if I could go to a company and within a few months generate a ton of revenue, going from zero to revenue generating, or help build teams around revenue generation for other software companies, I knew if I could just find some kind of niche that was profitable, that it would in turn eventually turn into something profitable. And I thought, I just intuitively said 6 months. I think 6 months would give me enough runway to figure it out. So we had the money out of savings. We took the tax return and combined it with the rest of the HELOC. So, around 40 grand, 45 grand. And we said, this is going to be our rice and beans budget. That'll keep us afloat for the next 6 months. Really is more like, I think it could have gotten us 7, 8, or 9 months with all that together, since it was around 60K together. So I wanted to go over then. I'm at that point where I made the decision, and I, for one, do not suggest people to do that, for one. I want to go over how the business iterated and what happened, because I actually started down that path of, all right, we're doing this. We're putting all our chips and going all in. Well, what happened is I inadvertently started 2 businesses at the same time. And my idea was, let's figure out which one wins. And again, advice that I probably wouldn't give you guys as well. But at that time, I felt like I could support it. And so there's 2 businesses. One was the product validation side. So I don't know if I went over this last time, but the idea that I had was in working with venture-backed companies and growing startups that usually come from venture-backed funds, meaning that investors invested into a company for it to gain growth and then for it to, take that money and to generate more revenue. And that's where I would come in. Well, I saw that there was a big reason why these companies weren't doing well is not only because they were being a little too loose with the cash that they were getting, to say the least, but also in the way that these software companies were building their products was disconnected from the product and how it's being built and how it's being sold. I think I went over that briefly. And so my idea was I will come in as someone who's sales oriented to understand and to run the market feedback for your potential ICP or your ideal client profile, meaning the ideal person that you would like to sell to. And then what I'll do is I'll go and validate it. I'll get market feedback. I'll pre-sell it, meaning I'll get people prepared to buy the thing when it's built. I'll take all that feedback, go to your product team and your development team, your software developers, and help guide it so that product and development are building what's actually coming through from sales and marketing and what customers ultimately are actually wanting. It's aligning everyone together. And the feedback was good. The feedback that I ran was actually on par. People said that this was a huge problem, and it still is a huge problem because I saw it. That's why there's so many layoffs happening in venture capital and in startups, is because that there was a large disconnection between how things were being built and how things were being sold. But the problem came at the point of, well, how do people pay me? Because people could admit that there's a problem. But what they wouldn't admit is I have a problem and I need help. So I was talking to heads of product and software developers, but they would not be looking at external resources. Why? Why would they not hire a consultant or someone to help bring them in? Well, because they were brought into the company to probably do that thing. So if they were brought into a company to lead product and growth, and then they tell their boss or their board, hey, we need to allocate budget to bring in a specialist who can validate our idea, then it doesn't look good on them. And so that's the first product, and we'll go into how that was iterated on into something successful. The second product was, and it just happened to fall in my lap, is I had a ton of talent in Pakistan who could do cold calling for B2B businesses, just through some connections I had at prior companies that I worked at. And so I had another company that was running at the same time that was for B2B sales outsourcing, meaning if you had a company and you wanted to, instead of hire, US cold callers to generate sales and to call businesses, that you could hire 3 or 4x the headcount for the same cost or cheaper. And I would be kind of the VP of sales that would lead all of it. You just tell me who we need to call and we'll get after it. Again, really good idea. But as I got into it, the people were great. I got my first client within a month or two, but it became a real challenge because I realized I didn't like it. It's very, people are very picky. Closing the deals are relatively hard for them to make the commitment, even if it's like a month-to-month or a 3-month commitment at a time. And I just didn't enjoy the work. The time zone difference was tough. And the clients were very needy, meaning I needed a lot more resources. I'm giving away way more than what they think they're getting. Because they need tech, which I have to rely on their tech and their data, which oftentimes isn't good. I have to rely on their actual tech, like their software and CRM to make dials, which oftentimes wasn't good. So it was hard to kind of just drag and drop people into the system when it was dependent on poor product, poor systems, and poor management outside of the things that I could control. So I just began to realize like, this is actually a really good idea. And they were starting to have some solid success with the poor leads that were provided from the client. But it just ended up being, they weren't seeing the success fast enough. It was not on my team. My team was working their rears off, to say the least, in doing 3, 4, or 5x the volume that most people do in a day. So they were really working hard and developing to get better. So I'm at this rock and a hard place between one idea around product development and validation for software that I'm getting a lot of really good feedback on. And then I'm also going after, getting a paid client for sales outsourcing. That eventually shuts down, which I actually offered to fire them a few months before they fired me, because I just could see writing on the wall that this just doesn't make sense. These people are not a good fit, and they're not investing enough into my team for them to be successful. And the product just wasn't as good. So then I'm going all in on the product side. But I began to realize through conversations, okay, people aren't going to raise their hand and say, I need help. I'm a product person and I need help. So I decided, instead of just doing the validation on the sales side and the market feedback, what if I just develop it? Meaning I will take someone's idea, I will go out and validate the idea, I will pre-sell the idea, I'll refine the marketing and sales even before the thing is being built. And then I will also be a software developer and develop the product as well. It's actually a really good idea. But what was the problem? Well, I wasn't a software guy, a software engineer. I was a sales guy and marketing and growth guy. So that offered an interesting challenge. One of my closest friends that lives right down the street from me, we always joked about doing business together. And he is a software engineer. And so we were always talking about different ideas that we could build and sell together. And eventually it just came to a point where I'm like, I have this idea. It's really close from being something, but I think we need to take on software development for this product to really get off the ground. For people to justify, yes, we're going to hire not only a software development company, but a validation and selling company. No one else was doing that. And so after a few months of just talking to him about it and trying to convince him, he finally decides he's going to make the leap in a few months. So then at this point, we got to find clients. So I'm just trying to figure out what is the best way to do this. And I think maybe I'll save this for another time. But in essence, what was able to get our idea off the ground is we used a marketplace. So this is the best advice I can give you. If you are providing a service for someone else, I don't care if you're a general contractor or like a contractor, or you do patios, or you do software development or marketing services, get on a marketplace. If you don't want to do sales and you just want to figure out what your ideal client is or the work that you want to do, get on a marketplace like a Thumbtack or a Bark, where you can, own a specific spot, own a specific service for a specific region, and where you pay for the leads. And then you can figure out what's your niche, who are you servicing and how, and get those things really refined. Because Adam and I, my co-founder, he agreed to do it. We were going all in on this idea. And we went on a marketplace. We went on the marketplace Bark, which we're still on today. And Bark, by the way, has made us multiple six figures. So it has indeed paid for itself. You just have to be careful and know what to look for. And that could be another time that I can break that down a little bit more on the YouTube channel. But so we're on the marketplace saying, hey, we take new ideas, we validate it, and we build it for non-technical founders. And we kept having more and more conversations where this was a really good idea. And we found our first client, which was amazing. But then we began to get into the work and began to realize like there's a lot of tire kickers, meaning there's a lot of people who have ideas, who they want to launch products, but they're not willing to pay $100,000 to potentially make $1 million. They have a really good idea, but they don't have the capital to get off the ground. So we just kept running into people were really appreciating our opinion and our free advice that we were giving away. And we began to realize that we really have a niche here for non-technical founders. We were the non-technical founders guide. When, people who are non-technical were trying to navigate software decisions, we could really explain it at plain English. And they really appreciated that. Because Adam had a really technical component and I had a really sales-oriented component. And there's a lot of overlap in how we can explain things that anybody can understand as they're making these decisions. And so we realized that there's still too many tire kickers, not enough people interested in actually paying for the service and putting ourselves out there. But what we did in being in the just general custom software development space on a marketplace is just allowed us to get leads in of different kinds. So that allowed us to find stuff that we were actually interested in doing. So ultimately, the original idea worked out some. We actually did get some clients based off of that. And one of our first clients that helped us launch our business and become profitable on a retainer basis was actually in the original model, ironically enough, the model of validating and building the idea. And we've been doing it successfully. And there's more to come in on that, some really exciting news surrounding that. But ultimately, we found that we enjoyed in doing a few different projects, building software for non-technical business owners. Because the path to adding a ton of value was very clear. It's very interesting people and problems with really tangible results. So that's how we got our first few clients and got our business off the ground and helped us really put kind of rubber to the road to see, is anyone actually going to pay for this? And actually even began to realize like, yes, people will pay for it, but we actually found something else we enjoyed doing more just by being at the right place. So a little bit of a tangent, but I hope you can see the cohesive thread. And here's a few things I want to provide for you. I had 6 months to figure out the business, and I did. There's a lot of iterations throughout that time, and that's natural. Because here's the thing. If you want to launch a successful business, you should be product agnostic and more focused on the problem you're solving. Why is that important? There's actually a book behind me called Fall in Love with the Problem, Not the Solution. Because that's what you should do. Because if you hold on to your idea so tight that it has to be this thing, then the markets could be telling you that it needs to shift. But you're not listening to what the market's telling you because you're too focused on what it should be in your mind, not what the market's telling you to do. So if you're offering a service or you're trying to launch a business, have a really clear mission for what you're solving for. Because it might come in different ways than what you can imagine. But as long as you have an open-handed enough idea to say, I want to solve this problem for this person, then the market, as you talk to those people, will eventually tell you, oh, it actually would be better here. Or actually, I really like this mission, but could you do it in this way? And then you'll be able to articulate what you do and niche down to solve a problem for a specific person. That's takeaway number one. Have a mission, don't have a product. You can figure out the product. And that's what helped me be successful and figure out a profitable business that I could pay myself within 6 months. This guy was more focused on solving problems than it being about my solution or being right. I don't care about being right. In fact, I was right for most of these businesses, and any one of these business ideas could have taken off on their own. I was just okay enough with saying like, I didn't enjoy this as much. What do I enjoy? And figuring that out. The second one is don't make dumb decisions like taking out loans. Thankfully, I had enough equity in my house that if push came to shove and I just failed, I could sell my house and still make not six figures, probably like 50 grand, 40 or 50 grand on top of paying everything off. So it wasn't a ton of risk for me, but I would not suggest for you to take out a loan ever on your home, on your car, a quick money loan. Like, do not do what I did. It's not smart. It's better for you to have a full-time job and to just give your idea 30 minutes to an hour to keep moving along inch by inch over the course of a year or 2 or 3 than to take a leap. Because unless you have paying customers on the other end, you should not be taking a leap. The only time you should be taking a leap is when you have paying customers, and you will make more money by just focusing on giving your business everything than being distracted with your full-time job or part-time job. So that's number 2. Don't take out a loan. Don't make a leap unless it's really, unless you're the biggest bottleneck, and you will make more money if you make the leap. The third thing of what I would do differently is, just looking at my notes, give me one moment. If you're offering a service, the easiest thing you can do is be on a marketplace and just own that service, meaning be the most responsive. When you get a lead, respond to it within seconds. Offer guarantees that no one else offers. That's what we do. So we distinguish ourselves. And just articulate your value and what your mission is, and make it very clear how different you are, and the way that you're integrous, you're honest, and you're quick responding, and you communicate clearly. Here's the thing. You can provide the same service that everyone else offers with no difference to value if you just operate in a way that's integrous, communicative. Like, those 2 things on their own will already put you in the top 10% of freelancers and people offering that service. Those are the 3 things that I would suggest. And next, we'll talk about how we were able to iterate the business and what the business turned into now, and how I'm continuing to niche down, and why that's really important for me. Because listen, taking big bets, I mean, that's just a natural part of business. There's no risk-free way to start a business. And that's what gurus will sell you courses on. But what I'd really like for you to take away here is, do not hedge more risk than you can take on and lose. So don't follow my exact path. There's ways that you can do this less risky. I thankfully had a background in growing companies, in making sales, so I had a little bit less risk considering my skill set, and considering that my worst case scenario is I could still make 50 grand on top of the loan that I was taking out. Just being totally transparent with you. But that's not the case for most of you. So the best thing you can do is give your idea enough love and attention, inch by inch, to get it moving in the right direction. And only take the leap when you're the bottleneck to the business. And if you just gave it a little bit more focus, it would explode in growth and replace your current income above that. Again, thank you so much for listening. The one last thing I want to leave you with is, if you got value from this, please subscribe. If you have a question or a bottleneck, please offer it in the comment section below, or in my email in the comment section or the description section, or the phone number as well. You can leave a voicemail to me. Again, I have nothing to sell you. I really just want to create a community, because there is a vacuum. There's no one or nothing out there that's really bringing together parent entrepreneurs and aspiring parent entrepreneurs, because it's a different game you play when you're a parent and an entrepreneur. I hope you got value out of this, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much for watching.